Well, they went and did it again. Because that's right, before AEW Collision did start, we had all the promos from everybody that was going to be in an Owen Hart Cup tournament match. And I like this so damn much. Just looking to the camera, they go, I'm going to win. I'm going to become the Owen Hart champion. You're like, well, one of these people is lying to me, but I like it. Also, hello, my friends. I know that Collision goes down on a Saturday, but Mondays when we up those downs for that show. And look, today I'm like Polar Bear Simon Miller. Don't know what that means, but I understand why I have put my hood up. It's not National Hood Week. I'm just a crazy tamale. Let's go. CM Punk was also the last person to do one of these promos to camera. And by the end of it, he went, actually, I'm going to address this right now. So when we came back from the intro credits with Elton John, the Punkster was coming to the ring. I shouldn't have called him the Punkster. He seemed to be very popular in Regina too, and of course he wanted to talk about Samoa Joe, because this match has been 742 years in the making. Of course he has never beaten Samoa Joe, which is why this is the biggest match of his life, but he can't get too carried away, because even if he is able to take him down, he may have to take on Ricky Starks, or he may have to take on Powerhouse Will Hobbs. So once again, I was just enjoying the shit out of this, because what we were doing, we were making everybody feel like a big deal. And given that I never feel like a big deal in my life, I can live vicariously through them. He even mentioned that even though him and Joe haven't fought in like 18 years, he still has some of the scars. That's how scars work, CM. They don't really go away. He also put over Owen Hart as a very special talent, which is true, when he went and touched the trophy, because this ain't no Stanley Cup, this ain't got nothing to do with hockey. He doesn't believe in superstition, and that's coming home to Daddy CM Punk's house. I gotta stop doing it. Punk then rounded all this off by saying he may not win, but he's gonna give it his all. That's a little bit like AEW probably should have promoted this promo beforehand, but it doesn't matter, and it got me ready for the match, and I am giving it an up. However, we mentioned the town we were in this evening, so we're gonna talk about it. Or more specifically, he does.
I can't believe that nobody turned up to this week's episode of Collision. I mean, how am I meant to deal with that?
Listen, Pesipus, why do you give a damn? Do you not have real problems?
Well, actually, no, I don't.
Well, doesn't that mean you should be very privileged that the biggest issue in your life is that a company that you're not affiliated with, well, they didn't draw the best house, but they'll probably continue to do better and better as the weeks go on?
No, I think it sucks.
Oh yeah? Well, you go over there. Thankfully, Collision then made sure to hammer home how important this CM Punk versus Samoa Joe match was, because they had this awesome video package, and Joe had a great line. He was all like, Punk, there has never been a day in your life that you were better than Samoa Joe. And that was gonna tie into the finish. Before that, though, we had to figure out the other side of the bracket, because it was Ricky Starks versus Powerhouse Will Hobbs. So this was like watching my children fight. I love them both. It's also another rivalry renewed, which was quite nice, and Ricky was in all the trouble to start things off because, of course, Powerhouse came out with QTV. So how was he going to get over these odds? We started how we should have done too, with William just using his strength to absolutely murk Ricky. But even when Starks was able to get back into this, obviously all of a sudden QT Marshall Hour was here, and he was casting distraction, and this stupid goober ref didn't see any of it. He was also choking Starks at one point, and I shouted at my TV, well, I'm sorry, but that's attempted murder. Then my neighbors came round, they said, we heard something about attempted murder, and I had to explain. It was a bad time all round. Powerhouse then did a bear hug because he is a bear and he wanted some love, which is not true at all, and I don't know why I said it, when Ricky Starks tried to do the Rochambeau, which was a terrible idea, because Hobbs is really, really big, and he murked him. There was this great bit, though, when Starks was able to use the ropes to hit a powerbomb on William, which I thought was fantastic, when he also followed it up with a DDT. I think he gave him another DDT and another DDT, and this makes all the sense in the world, because it is the Daddy Deathly Terminator. It does not stand for that. Ricky was then ready to hit the spear, but this is when QT tripped him. But actually, it's when it all tied in, because the referee went up to Marshall like, you're making my life really hard, man. Would you stop it? And during that period, Hobbs hit the spine buster, and he had the match won, but because the official was dealing with QT Marshall, it didn't count. The referee's got to count 3. We then ended exactly how you think we should have ended, because Starks was like, all right, and he pushed William into QT, and he hit the spear to get the 1, 2, 3, and that rhymes, so now I'm really happy, which means he is now going on to the finals. But straight away, AEW was like, would you like some narrative? We've got some for you. Because Powerhouse was so mad, he pushed QT to the ground, and when Aaron Solar got in there to be like, oh, hey, everybody just calm down. William was like, nope, and he spine busted his ass. Now Harley Cameron was here, and she too was like, please, please, why is the team breaking up? But I would use this as Powerhouse Hobbs' face term, and I would just push him to the moon. This actually tied in very nicely. I mean, there's every chance we started QTV for this very tournament. That's smart. All of this was good. Up. When we had this Miro promo, and what the flub is he teasing? But I do now know that Lana is double jointed, so that's an interesting piece of knowledge in my brain. But he basically said he would fight anyone, he would take on any challenge, and that one match we've waiting to be seen is on the cards. I'm like, who the hell is that? I mean, in my world, it would be Miro versus Rusev, but if you are aware of how wrestling works, that's actually impossible, or how life works. But this has really got me. I can't think of anyone, so if you think you can, please leave a comment below. At the very least, I do expect big men slapping man meat, and talking about wrestlers slapping their man meat, we cut to Willow Nightingale, who very sadly hadn't been cleared for this evening, so her match with Athena was off. Quite disappointed, I was looking forward to it. This is when Athena walked in and was all like, oh yeah, what a bunch of crap, I don't believe it at all, but they are going to do it next week. And honestly, I've seen them fight in Ring of Honor before. This is what I was talking about, the slapping of meat. These two are absolutely going to whip each other's ass. And if you're not excited, find your excited button and turn it on. But do not make that noise. We also teased if Willow does win this, she'll be going after the Ring of Honor Women's Championship, and we should make that a 6-month feud, I mean it. When we also got a video package for Blood and Guts. Do you know what the latest rumor with this was? Because obviously Brian Danielson and a bunch of other people, CM Punk was like, well, I could be in it. No, I don't think that's going to happen. But can you imagine? The internet would melt down. But they did get quite a random match, at least I didn't know it was happening, because it was Julia Hart taking on Bambi Hall. Now, despite being quite unknown, because Hall was bigger than Julia, after she had taken a moment to remember her mother, she actually had a little something here, till Julia Hart was like, no, you're not doing this. I am the bigger star. She beat her up, she applied the rings of Saturn. This couldn't have gone more than 2 minutes. Due to the size difference though, it did make Julia look like a warrior, a spooky wookie warrior. And actually, if you are keeping an eye on her, she is getting better every single week, and she's got a cool entrance because she is part of the House of Black. So I think we have some real potential here. I'm very excited to see it grow. Like a flower. So I am going to give it an up, and also it tied right into the Andrade House of Black stuff after this, because we cut to all of that. Because Malachi quite clearly used his editing skills to make this amazing video where he was like, oh, Andrade, what do you wear a mask for, you absolute idiot? But at the same time, I know you're a really good wrestler, and I bet you prove it to everyone. It's like, man, this is like gaslighting. You've got to make up your mind. Lexi there clearly wanted answers straight away, so she went and found Mr. Tranquilo and was all like, what did you think about that? Made me laugh. Andrade just went, what a coward. He also wanted to make out that his mask was a representation of himself and his family, so he's basically Batman, as he underlined the rules. Because when it's time for business, he wears it, and when it's time to fight, he takes it off. Now, I'm not sure that makes any sense, but the feud is good, and we're going to do a 6-man tag at one point, and that will be brilliant. And even if we just go through all the individual members, as we have been doing, you don't want to see Malachi Black versus Andrade? Well, you should do, because it will rock. This was fine. Talk about the card for this collision as well, because it was then a tag team title eliminator match, and it was Bullet Club Gold taking on FTR. This surely has to be one of the best matches of the week, if not the damn year. I mean, we started off with Jay White and Dax Harwood going at it before Juice Robinson and Cash Wheeler tagged in, and they did their thing. But these guys are just so damn good. And clearly Tony Khan has realized this, because he gave them like 25 minutes and it just built and it got better and better and better. And do you remember when Jay White first came in, it was like, oh man, they're not doing everything with him. Well, because he's such a talented cat, he's just doing it for himself now. And at the end of this, I was like, he should probably be the damn world champion. White and Robinson did try to do some double teaming here, but Dax was like, no, and he started busting out German suplexes. When we cut back from the break, and all of a sudden Bullet Club was in control. Now, I can't make my usual magic joke here, because I watch on Fight TV, I saw the whole damn thing. They really wanted to continue to throw Harwood into Tina the Turnbuckle though, so they kept doing it. When Dax realized, wait a minute, I've got an elbow, I wonder if I can use it as a weapon. And it worked. Because he was able to get the tag to cash, and almost instantly they were doing double team moves. I was like, man, he must have had a med pack at ringside. And this is when we started busting out chops, when Juice did some biting. I was like, man, That dude is really weird. And he is really weird, but flub me is he entertaining. Jay White was then being the ultimate heel and a disgusting human being, because he spat at Dax Harwood when he applied the Mutalog onto Cash. Obviously, Dax was like, bro, you just literally put your goobs on me. He got in the ring and he broke it up. Switchblade then threw Dax into Barry Barricade, meaning look, bring it down, we're only 14 away from Barry's funeral. And when Cash caught White with the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, the referee didn't see it because he was having a refreshing breakfast drink with Juice, who was basically casting distraction. I mean, it was a little bit weird. That was the second time we had this spot, because of course Powerhouse Hobbs had the match won, the referee didn't see it. But when you have a fight that's this good, who the hell cares? Trust me, go and watch it. You will just light up with glee. Eventually, Cash was able to get the hot tag to Dax, who just started busting out all these brain busters. I was like, man, he must not be into smart conversation. When FTR was just double teaming again, they make it look so effortless. It looked like they were going to get the spike pile driver too, but then Juice was back. He did the big punch onto Cash. Then Jay White decided, haha, I'm going to go for the Blade Runner. That didn't work out, so FTR hit the Shatter Machine 1-2, and it was broken up, and I was like, that was it. This rules. Finish was then coming out of nowhere, and everybody was doing the 1-2 oohs kick out when the tag klaxon went off. And everybody was fired. Juice then blind tagged in, but Dax Harwood didn't realise this, that he went for the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. But Robinson just looked at him like, man, you've made a terrible mistake. And he had. Because it meant Juice was able to hit his facebuster thingamajig, which does look awesome, and even this was so well done. Because while the referee did count 1, 2, 3, Cash was like inches away from breaking it up, but Jay White stopped him, and it now means we can do the proper title match, which we'll talk about in just 1 second, but again, just give it all the round of applause. It was so damn good. Bullet Club Gold rule, FTR rule, I am giving it up. We then had a quick chat with Luchasaurus and Christian Cage, because of course at Battle of the Belts it is going to be those guys taking on Shawn Spears for the TNT title. When we did an interview with FTR, they got interrupted by White and Robinson and said, look, we beat you once in a 6-man tag, we just beat you then, so next week for the championship, let's do a 2 out of 3 falls match. I am so ready, and if you wanted to do the title switch, I don't think I'd care at all. When from nowhere it was Scorpio Sky versus Action Andretti. Alright then. Now it was just our showcase match for the evening, but I totally understand this. We are finally putting Scorpio Sky back on TV after he fell into a well or something, and if you want a nice highlight reel, well, put Andretti in the thing, that dude can go. He also knew that it was a massive opportunity to show off some 2023 wrestling, so he was just doing all of these dives. But when he missed a springboard 450, he just busted out a Spanish fly. I can't even get out of bed in the morning. How are you doing this? He then kept this up because when Sky went for the TKO, Action turned it into the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, so everybody's going for it. When Scorps kicked out and went, you know what, I'm just going to do the TKO again. And he did. 1, 2, 3. Now I've left a lot out here because this was just typical AEW action, no pun intended. But it really did fit in here, especially given the match we had before and the match we had afterwards. So I don't know who's putting these Collision shows together, but my word, they're well structured. Giving it up. Which did indeed bring us to our main event, and I thought this felt massive, because I am a massive nerd. I remember all the Ring of Honor matches between CM Punk and Samoa Joe, so I was just losing my mind. And it had a story. Brilliant. It started slow because they were building. They started to chop each other when CM Punk applied a headlock. And yes, that was Ring of Honor callback part 1. Part 2 was even better though, because Punk went for a crossbody. Samoa Joe did that nope thing when he just walks away. Now 1, nobody is better at doing the nope spot than Samoa Joe, but yes, once again 2, you can go back in time in your DeLorean, and it's already over the internet. You can see the comparisons. I just love stuff like this. It makes me feel rewarded. Joe used this as well because he started to wallop CM, and even when Punk tried to use the ropes, I think with a flying nothing, Samoa cut him off, and this was kind of the meat and bones of the match. No matter what CM Punk tried to do, Samoa Joe just whooped him. Finally, Punk was able to level him with a leg lariat, so Samoa Joe was like, all right, fine, and he locked in the Coquina clutch, but Punk didn't want to die, so he got out of that, and this is when we started to go crazy. Because he wasn't able to get a back suplex, and he followed it up with the big elbow for a 1-2, oh my gosh, he kicked out, when we continued to tease that Punk thought he could win with the GTS. But here's the key, he never hit it. Punk then made a terrible mistake because he was going for the top rope, and I was like, don't go up there, that's muscle buster territory. But Samoa wasn't able to hit that, so Punk went for GTS attempt 2. That didn't work, and can you believe it? He then found himself back in the Coquina clutch. And do not forget, if you can't breathe, you're going to die, so you've got to tap out. I was so invested by this point because I honestly didn't know who was going to win here, because you could pick both directions and anything would be fine. But actually what we did is Punk was like, oh man, that's right, I don't want to die. So he turned it into the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, and he got the 1, 2, 3. But do you know what this whole match told you? Okay, fine, CM Punk got the win, but really, Samoa Joe was the better man. So it's absolutely the way to use the surprise roll-up finish, especially because afterwards, Samoa's like, let's just shake hands like gentlemen, and Punk went to do it, and instantly, Samoa Joe locked in the Coquina clutch as he was shouting, I'm better than you! I'm better than you! Even though he's insane, he may have a point. He also went to get a chair because he was going to bludgeon CM Punk, much like he'd done to Roderick Strong when out came FTR. And then we had more teasing, because even though Punk and Ricky Starks had been friends, Rick appeared on the big stage, and he looked at Punk, because 1, that's what super serious wrestlers do, and 2, now I guess he would be at odds with himself, because that is his buddy, but now he wants to beat him in the finals of the Owen Hart Cup tournament. Ooh-la-lally. So all of this worked, and it felt very meticulously played out. And I kind of feel now when we get to that match, Ricky Starks may win because of Samoa Joe interference. And then maybe we get to All In and we can do the proper big wahoo between Samoa Joe and CM Punk. This was great. Again, so much was put into this, which I always appreciate. That's why it's getting it up. Which does indeed bring us to the end of AEW Collision, and I'm giving it an up overall. And look, I don't care about ticket sales or television ratings. I hope it does do well, because that's good for everybody. But in terms of me sitting my ass down on a chair and enjoying some wrestling, gets a couple of thumbs. Also, please do click the videos on the screen right now for another ups and downs. It's probably smacking down ups and downs, so you can see what I thought of that show. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Then you can head over to whatculture.com and read all the updates on professional wrestling. Follow us on social media. Simon316, What Culture WWE. My name is Simon for What Culture. Thank you for joining me on a Monday, and we've got a long and crazy week ahead of us. Let's do it together. Goodbye.